All right. Hello, everybody. Today's date is Thursday, May 15th, 2025, and this is the Youth Leadership for Africa Community Builders Meeting. All right, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you. Brian and Mufit will be our masters of ceremony today.
Thank you so much, Sateri, for this time. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from where you're coming from. My name is Brian. I'm from Kenya, and I will be the moderator. My assistant will be Mufid. Mufid is from Nigeria. Hand in hand with Sateri, who is from Montana, USA. So this is the 7th meeting that we are having, and as we always say, this is a safe space where we are going to discuss, and we are not judgmental, and we are going to talk about what you say. So feel free when you're discussing, and share with us what you feel is right, and discuss with us what can help Africa move forward. So just holding it on, I would request that really kindly to bring everything on the screen, including our agenda today, so that we can officially start.
Okay, just give me one moment there, Brian. Right, it's up on the screen. Did we lose you there, Brian?
I can hear you, though I can't see the screen, please.
Mufit, can you see the screen?
Yes, the screen is up.
Okay, well, Mufit, you want to do the agenda review? Brian, I'm not sure why you're not seeing it. Your video is off right now.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes, go ahead,
I
Mufit.
think Brian is having some network glitches. Okay, so thank you so much, Sateri, for that. And once again, welcome everyone, our new members, and then our old members that are still going to join. We welcome you today, being 15th of May 2025, 8:30 West African time and 10:30 East African time. So we welcome everyone to this meeting of the Youth Leadership Africa. Today, I'm going to take us through the agenda so we see what we are going to be discussing in the next 90 minutes of the meeting. First, we are going to look at that is after the welcoming address by Brian. We're also going to have an icebreaker, at least to refresh ourselves so that we can feel free to contribute immensely throughout the program. And then the third agenda is going to be, we are going to also give a purpose that is for our new members to understand what is the purpose of the Youth Leadership for Africa. And then we are also going to have an agenda review that is under the first item of the introduction. On the second item, the current event, we're also going to watch a video from Malawi where a rural school is turning to technology to improve the literacy levels of its peoples. It was also captured by BBC Africa News, which is going to be, at least is going to be displayed by Sateri. And then the items under the Get Into Action, which is one of the major parts of our meeting. So we are going to go into a discussion. And in the discussion, we already had some series of at least responses from our members, which falls under the round robin. Which everyone described one issue that they would like to resolve in their country, and we have responses from different participants. We are going to discuss on that one, and then going further, we also have that is we are going to also look into the closing and evaluation, which we are going to at least give some remarks and overview of what we have discussed and see whether we are actually at least meet or achieve some milestone, our set milestone, moving with our key performance indicators, because we already have a target. As we know, we just want to actualize into action, but we are still in the, at least at the background, trying to build a solid foundation. And then we are also going to look at the adjournment of the meeting, which some participants are going to volunteer to adjourn to till at least the next meeting, which is going to hold. Please, Terry, can you scroll down? Okay, which is going to hold on the 29th, 2025. So I don't know whether Brian is back or he's still, oh, he's completely out of the call.
Yeah, we've lost him a bit,
Yes.
but
Okay.
let's go back up here. Let's quickly do a little icebreaker.
Okay.
All right, this is just to warm everybody up here. Okay, I want everybody, does everybody know where the chat button is? Should be where you can put in a chat message. Okay. I want you to think about your country and your federal government, your national government in whatever country you live. I want you to think of one word only that describes your national government, whatever that is. So I want you to give that a little bit of thought just for a few seconds, and you're going to have 30 seconds to put your one word into the chat. All right? On your mark, get set. You got 30 seconds to put into the chat one word that you think best describes your federal or national government. One word. 30 seconds on your mark, get set, go. Just pop it into the chat there. Just pop anyone in there. Just make it to the group itself. Okay, 10 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, stop. Let's take a look and see what you said here. You can open up the chat. Not everybody got their answers in there, but I'm seeing corruption. I'm seeing game. I'm seeing polarized, and I'm seeing confusion. Okay, so what I am sensing is that we're not too happy with our federal governments and that they could be doing a better job. All right. Good to know. Good to know. Okay. And just so you know, I'm from the United States. I put polarized. So I don't think our national government over here is doing a particularly good job either. So I think it might be universal. All right. Over to you, Mufid.
Okay. Actually, as I tell you, can I know the people? I can't see the other responses. So can I know what at least each and every one said so that I can be able to ask them why did they say so? Well, because as for me, I said confusion. So actually, I will say that the government is actually confused because they are misplacing priority. At least they always mentioning that they are doing some economic reforms, while I can see a lot of at least established government companies that are generating thousands of jobs before, but now they are left at least stranded, dilapidated, and so I can't understand it. The national infrastructure is always is always going down. It's not functioning. So if actually you want to do some economic reforms, I think these are the things that are very close to the people that if the government will put much effort on them, I know actually it's going to create a lot of jobs to the people. If we can also observe most of if I can get a very good example with our train stations, the train station that is conveying goods from the different regions of the country now is no longer working, it's not functional. So if at least all those things will be put in place, we can address major challenges of our, especially the high inflation that we are facing in terms of staple food crops in the country, because I know definitely the transportation cost for the train is actually also contributing to stabilizing of the prices of our food commodities. So now that we no longer, all those things are no longer working. So definitely we have to depend on the heavy trucks that are at least consuming all those diesels and fuels. So it's also actually accruing to the increase of the inflation of the country. So I just don't understand why they are saying they are doing some economic reforms on statistics. So we want to see the actualization of that economic reform that is having a direct impact on the population. And that's what they should be doing. All those national infrastructure that have been left not rotting, I think they should at least go back to it, at least revive it, where a lot of people are going to have jobs and it's going to show a lot of impact in the economic development of this of the country. That's why I say the government is confused to me. So, Sateri, you mentioned polarized. So I don't know, can you please give us some insight so we understand also from your own perspective?
Sure, polarized in the United States. We have two big political parties at the national level, and they're fighting with each other. And as a result, a lot of things that should be getting done are not getting done. We're seeing a lot of really good programs that have been in place for a long time get cut. We're seeing a lot of lawsuits being filed by both sides, which are clogging up the court system. And it's just a lot of people are just tired of the fighting, the political fighting back and forth. You know, they came in on a platform of building jobs and reducing inflation, and it's not really happening. It's not saying that it couldn't happen. It's just that, you know, everybody's fighting too much. And we've been like this now for a number of years, and it's quite frustrating. Does that help, Mufit?
Oh, I get it. Actually, yes, I get it.
All right, then. So, Brian, welcome back. Thank you for the welcome. We just finished the icebreaker. Mufit did the agenda review. And how about we turn it over to you to give a brief description of the YLA purpose, and then we can jump into the video.
Thank you so much, Sateri, for that. Sorry, members, I just had some internet interruption here, but now let's go on to check on YLA purpose. And as we always say, you know, we as Africans, we identified ourselves having several gaps in Africa, and we have got several issues. Talk about poverty, from poverty to femicide, from femicide to terrorism, and all issues that are affecting African states are almost equal. And we believe that the youths are not just future leaders, but we are leaders of today and tomorrow, and we are the only people who can shape our lives. And therefore, we decided that if we come together and identify these gaps, and not just identify the gaps. After identifying the gaps, we go for the solutions of this. Then we decided that this could be the best thing ever that can happen in Africa. And as a result of that, YLA was born. And YLA is just basically born in bringing up solutions and issues that are affecting Africa. And that is why we, as African youth, are merging together to come up with issues, solutions for issues that are affecting Africa. For the first start, we have youth from Nigeria and Kenya. We were supposed to be having one from Ghana who was supposed to be coming in, but still having some internet issues. So that is the main purpose why we are here. So we don't really limit it to youth. We go on board. Whoever is having, you know, a solution for African problems, we might bring in board. So that is why we are here. So, knowing the agenda, I would now request that we are going to receive to watch a video. Just to give a little bit of this video, this is a clip that the BBC African News displayed. You know, since we started, you know, checking on our meetings, we have been, you know, checking on gaps that Africa has been having. But this time around, we said that we don't really need to, you know, see the problems that are in Africa. There is some good things that happens in Africa. For example, in Malawi, there is just a rural school which are, you know, turning technology to improve the literacy level on their pupils. And in the last meeting, somebody said that if we try to inject, technology into, academia, then we can see a change in our, our moving ahead in academics. So we got a video from Malawi, and let's watch and see what's happening in Malawi. Then from there, we can have thoughts, and we can share what we feel about the video. Kindly, Sateri, can you play the video?
Sure. Give me one moment there. I've got to stop the screen share first. And then get the video up. All right, let's get this going.
These children are about to have a lesson from a digital teacher on a tablet. For 30 minutes every day, they learn maths and reading in their local language through games and exercises on a screen. There is a real teacher in the room, but she's just there to help with any problems. There are more than 50 children in this class learning at their own pace. They're learning how to read and do basic maths. And each time they use the tablet, it assesses their level. So essentially, they have personalized virtual teachers.
Linani chitunzi ndipo tichule mawu limodzi. Milomo.
Chimene ndimakonda kugwiritsa ntchito mu tablet ndi kuwerengera masamu, ndi kulemba, ndi kuwerenga maphatikizo monga pha, sa, fa.
This rural school doesn't have electricity, so solar panels have been installed to charge the tablets. For most children here, digital technology is completely new.
The greatest impact on children at this school is that most of the learners are now able to read and write, so much so that the learners have developed the reading culture.
Schools in Malawi often lack basic teaching resources, and there are an average of 70 children in each class. The tablets cost around $7 a child, and critics of the program say the money should be spent on training more teachers. But the government believes tablets are a cost-effective way of improving education.
Apart from improving learning outcomes, they are also increasing attendance. They are also increasing even enrollments. Yes, if you look at it at the surface, they may seem to be expensive. They don't come cheap now. But when you look at the long-term effect and impact, I think it's great.
Tests have shown that children using the tablets improve in literacy and numeracy. Since the program started 2 years ago, they're in almost 1,000 schools. The plan is to have the tablets in all of the country's 6,000 primary schools by the end of the decade.
People are done.
Thank you so much, Sateri, for displaying the video there. And we have seen, that something good can happen in Africa, actually. So just to throw this on the floor, what do you think about the video, as we usually do? The floor is open to everyone. What do you think about the video?
Hello, Mr.
Yes,
Terry.
Khadija.
The video, well, it's really nice. For me, I think it's good because the world itself is turning into diverting into IT and all that. So I think exposing this kids to learning through a tab would make it they'll be more adapted to learning with computers in the future. Personally, I think it's actually a good thing for them at this stage, in fact. Though if maybe I'm not somebody who is an expert in the educational sector. I wouldn't know if how effective it will be considering other subjects. But the report there says that their literacy in numeracy have increased using the tablet. So my own opinion is I think it's a good start, at least for their level. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Adija, for the insights. And again, if you checked out the video, it was saying that it also improves the number of students who are coming to school. And you could see the students now learning how to read and write, because if you look at the levels of, if you look at the schools in Malawi, you find that they have deficit in teachers. So that's good insight. So maybe anybody also have some insight about the video, kindly before we move on. Feel free to jump over and say something.
Yes, actually, that was impressive. This is a clear, at least example of this providing equal access to quality education. And definitely, I know the children will like to attend to school because, it will just be like kind of a fun to them. So they will not like to miss school. And there is always going to be a cognitive connection between their brain and whatever there is there on the screen. So definitely, they are going to get attached to it. There is going to be a less distraction because I know they are going to focus their attention on that. I remember there was a time in one of the primary school there in Jos Plateau State that they wanted to introduce this computer game to the student in the school, especially the primary school students. So I don't know whether it was Brian, you were conversant with that. There was this game that we call the Mortal Kombat MK3. Yes, so that was a game for Sega. They just tried the student to play that, and actually, student. One of the funniest thing was that the student that knows how to play this better, that mastered it very well. They are the student that are always topping when it comes to mathematics in the class. So I was just kind of surprised. Say, oh, so actually this thing is also assisting the student to at least get a very good connection with the academics. This is a very good one to go, especially that they say the country is at least trying to aim to reach out to 6,000 schools, primary schools in a decade. That is actually huge effort they are making. And looking at, they said this $7 per the tablet. They are making a very good move. I hope it will continue and it should be consistent.
Thank you, Mufid, for all the good insight there. And I also believe on the same what you're saying. I feel that if you check it on the basic of trying to improve education in Africa, then we are moving on the right way. So I also support the program down there. Maybe if you could have something to tell me, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to improve educational access. But what impressed me the most beyond the educational access was it's a clever and adaptive situation to finding interesting ways to address these challenges. And that's what's going to be so important in the future is a lot of the traditional methods aren't going to be affordable, or they just don't work. And so you need to find other ways to do it. And this is a very clever way to do it. Like, it just may be too expensive to hire and train teachers and then have to build all of the facilities for them. This is a much lower cost way of trying to get to a lot more people. So I like that. And this has nothing to do with the video, but it reminds me of another example. They talked about solar panels, as a means to generate electricity, which makes a lot of sense. And that they're finding that with climate change, sometimes it's getting too hot to grow certain types of food crops. But they found that if you put the solar panels up on higher posts, that you can grow the crops underneath the solar panels. We published an article about that 2 years ago. So it's these ingenious ways, I think, that are going to be the future. And as young people, you're very attuned to that kind of creative thinking. So this is your time to shine. Well, that's what I want to share.
Sure.
Thanks, Brian.
Sure. Great words. This is our time to shine. And I absolutely agree with that, Sateri. So thank you for the great insight there. And I also believe that it is a time, because if you look at the foundation that YLA is built on, and you look at what's happening in Malawi, it means that we can start it a little bit and it can go and burn the whole Africa. So there is nothing which is impossible. If this rural school in Malawi can kickstart and do something good in education, then even YLA can also do it. So that is what we could have said through the video. Thank you so much for participating and all that. So we can now jump into the today's agenda. And just to bring to our attention, last time when we were discussing our agenda, there was a lot of insight that we didn't exhaust. And therefore we had a unison that today we come up and try to exhaust the 5 major areas that you are having a roundtable discussion on. We were talking about femicide, we're talking about malnutrition in children, we're talking about education attainment, we're talking about food insecurity, and we were also talking about poverty. And all these were specific areas that we discussed. But we also said that we are not only embodied on the 5 areas, we can still work on other areas. But we were looking at what are some of the, what can we really venture so that we can try to bring a solution on these 5 major issues. So the last time we had, like we talk about femicide, somebody said that we can, try to bring a change, hold people accountable. These people who commit these crimes must be held accountable so that we can see number of femicide reducing. That was Khadija who said that. And then Abubakar also said that, if we want this femicide issue to reduce, then what can we do? We try to increase awareness, about the crisis through education, in grassroots levels, and try to deal with it, So we found that there were some areas that we didn't really exhaust. So today we are coming to, check on these 5 areas, and even if there is more space that we can talk about, we can still bring about our thoughts and bring other issues that we can talk about Africa. But we see on what are the things we can venture on. What is this one thing that we can do, to reduce, if we talk about femicide, what can we do? If we talk about malnutrition in children, what is this one thing that if we venture on can really try to reduce this issue? If we talk about education attainment, what can we do? So I'm going to open the floor for each and every, you can take any of these 5 agenda. It doesn't mean that we must start from femicide. So if you feel that you want to talk about malnutrition, if you talk about education attainment, if you talk about femicide, you talk about poverty, you can pick it from where you feel it's cool with you. So I want to welcome everybody to today's discussion on this. I think we can start the discussion.
And Brian, if I may interject, could I suggest that you take one issue at a time, because there's so many points that have been put down here in past meetings, you can't see it all at once on the screen. So it might make sense to start with the first issue and talk for it. Anyone can jump in on any of the other issues if they want, but maybe go through it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That might be helpful.
Yeah, sure. That's quite intelligent for sure. You can do that. So we can maybe start with the femicide in Kenya. So what is this one issue that you think we can venture on to see or reduce the rate of femicide in Kenya, or femicide in Nigeria or any other country in Africa. What do you think about that?
And one other thing too, Brian, for everybody to note that these issues are not, if you have another issue that is beyond this, that's quite all right. Or if you think the issue should be changed in some way, for example, femicide, which is a very serious problem, you may want to look at, for example, women's issues and not which femicide is one. Now, if you don't want to dilute it, that's fine, but that's one example of how you can work with the issue too. So everything is open for discussion here, not just these particular 5 issues. And while I'm talking, and I'll be quiet after this, is why don't I just throw it out as what I think might be helpful is that you need to change the laws to protect women and make the penalties much stiffer for people that are offenders.
Yeah, sure. We can add that as the third point. And I think certainly just changing the laws again, we should also change and implement these laws. Because if you look at some of the African countries, we have got some of the best laws so far. But now if you come to implementation, that is where the problem is. So we have to change and do the implementation. Sure. So who is going to come over with having anything about femicide? Ubay, do you have something to add on femicide? What is this one thing that we can venture on to maybe reduce the number of femicide that we witness?
Hello, Mr. Terry.
Yes,
Yes.
Khadija.
Okay. I don't know, for this femicide, I don't know if we've discussed it before. You know, maybe putting up, okay, I think we did discuss it in our last meeting. Making more awareness to the women and maybe engaging in programs to at least protect themselves on the first cases. I think we discussed that the last meeting.
Sure, Khadija, that's I think that's a great one. Creating programs to show how women can protect themselves. That is great. I think we did some article about that, and that is very viable. I love that. So that's a great point on that. Thank you so much, Khadija. What do you think about it, Zainab? Do you have something on femicide, please? Hey,
Brian,
Ashika,
if I can, in the United States and other parts of the world, a few years ago, a movement started called Me Too. I don't know if you're familiar with it in Africa, but it was in support of women standing up for their own rights and getting very vocal about it. But part of what they did was they started a huge campaign on social media. And that seemed to make a difference, but I don't know if that's something that is doable with a lot of women in Africa, but I wanted to throw that out.
Thank you, Sateri. I think that is a contentious point that needs a debate because it varies from different African countries. Because if you hear some women say that it may not be scientifically proven, but they say that an enemy of a woman is a woman. If you look at mostly a woman may be interested in a given field, then whoever comes to fight them, perhaps maybe political field or somewhere, is a fellow woman. So that, in a given concept brought about that say. But again, I think it is about how it is being laid. Because if you look at the current situation, and right now we are talking about the case study in Kenya, and I've also looked at some other states I've seen femicide happening. That should be a little bit of a combining factor, a unifying factor that should make women, to stand up and, hold themselves up and say, there is something we are missing, and until we come together, we can solve this. But that is not guaranteed. So it depends with how the discussion comes up, because sometimes some people may feel it that they are taking, maybe they are trying to grasp an opportunity that is, that is at hand. So on my side, I feel it all depends on how the discussion is brought up, and from there it can work. But it is not guaranteed in all states.
Hey, Brian, I got in the chat that Ashika has asked if she could share something about it regarding northern Nigeria.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Ashika.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Achika Favor. So, I was opportune to serve in Jigawa State, to be precise, in Nigeria. And then femicide, the gender-motivated killing of women and girls, remains a pressing issue in the northern Nigeria. You see, just of late, a female, that's a 20-year-old woman, was arrested for allegedly killing her co-wife by pouring hot water on her during a domestic dispute. And then in October 2024, if I'm not mistaken, two brothers in a local government reportedly killed their female neighbor, Hawa, accusing her of witchcraft. So if we are to combat these issues in Nigeria, I think we have a VAAP Act of 2021, which was brought to light by the federal government. It's a federal violence against persons prohibition. And then this provides a legal framework to combat and address GBV and also femicide in Nigeria. And then this act also supports survivors. And then I believe that we should engage more as a community. That's community engagement, Islamic scholars, community leaders, because Jigawa State, they use this Sharia law. That's more like the Islamic law. So I believe that the Islamic scholars and community leaders should be mobilized to use religious teachings to advocate for GBV and also femicide, aiming to shift cultural norms and then promote equity. That's just what I have to say. Thank you.
Very good comments. Thank you, Achika.
Thank you so much, Achika, for the comments there. Hillary, welcome. Do you have anything on femicide? What's one thing we can do maybe to see numbers of femicide reducing? I know now that you are from Kenya, you understand this very well.
Yeah, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I greet you. Thank you for this chance, yeah, that you've given me to join this meeting. It's a very productive meeting, and it's coming at that time that the world is trying to change and learn to adapt to these things. You know, coming from an African setup, and sometimes I don't even know whether it's right to call it African. Maybe Mr. Terry could tell us if it is also European. That you know, it has been that men rule, men do everything. But now the idea of feminism, when it steps in, women also feel like they are educated, they should reason, they should be included in negotiation tables. And this is where the wrangle begins. So in my own opinion, I think that for us to eradicate these femicide issues, first of all, as people who have gone through education, we must first of all embrace the fact that ladies, after being educated, are also qualified partners in decision-making tables. Once you have a wife in your home, she's not there just for cooking and for giving birth and for taking care of the babies. She's also there as an integral part of the family development. So once we involve them, every other person in the world have what we call status quo. If you're able to satisfy that you're able to recognize that they have brains, you're able to recognize that they're material in that family, we will have a lasting peace in the homes, because the idea ends with the individual view of status quo, or rather, you know, there is a pride that everybody attaches to their own life. You get that? So we must learn to co-op with the landed ladies. And then even the governments in a way, I feel like they still promote this, because when people talk about total gender role, why are they saying that in any government office, like in Kenya, for example, we're talking of, and when we talk about women, we just talk of representation. But when we talk about men, there is no such thing. But why are we not just saying an office should just have people of, you know, different sexes in equal measures, so that there is a flow of ideas from this side and also from this side? Why do we still have government offices called affirmative action that are only, they are minute, you know, appointable positions which are just reserved for the women? I think even the laws that we are setting are labeling women as people who are substandard, who are subservient, you know. Let us have laws that just label gender as the same. I don't know whether it's making sense as I bring it, but I feel like if we were able to just be the same, be equal. Like parents, we are advised that if you have children in the home, you better teach them the same, so that the men also learn about cooking, women also learn about taking care of maybe cows or doing farming. Of course, there is you cannot give them the same measure of duties depending with the how strenuous the duties are. But if you expose all of them to such duties, you find it so easy for them to at least learn from both sides. So I feel like these things to do with hello.
Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead. We had someone who wasn't muted, but you're good now.
Yeah, sure. So I was just wrapping up, and I'm saying that issues, things like affirmative action, which are just meant to indicate that women should just be represented, cannot contest for big positions in governments like presidency. They're just there to be appointed, like in the home. They're just there to be to listen, but not to be listened to. These are the things that contribute into having a number of femicides. If we can deal with all these things, I think Mr. Terry and the rest of us, we can have a very peaceful, you know, countries with people respecting each other and not using sex as an item of weakness so that we label them as weak because they are women. My kind submission.
Excellent points, Hillary, and very well said. Thank you so much. I think we lost Brian there. Hold on. No, that's not Brian, but we've got someone else coming in here. Okay, so we've got some good comments on that first one. We're continuing the discussion. Let's move on to the second one, if that's okay, Mufit. Let's talk about malnutrition in children. What is one change that if you could make that change would really help the problem of malnutrition in children? And we've got 2 suggestions so far. Well, so who else would like to throw in their thoughts on this? Please don't be shy. Jump in.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me at least jump in, share something about this in malnutrition. So there's actually quite a lot of cases of malnutrition that are those that are ever reported and those that we are witnessed, at least as a first-hand audience. So there are a lot of things at least contribute to the issue of malnutrition, especially when it comes to the utilization of the food item. So even as if I could remember, Abubakar also leveraged on this, that there in some instances there might be the availability of the food, but then the part of the utilization, that is the proper utilization of the food, is another problem that a lot of people need to have the kind of association on the right blending. That it's not just about to eat what you want. Definitely, even if you want to eat something, it's just kind of ensure that there is the right blending that will give you the necessary balance that is required, and then also that the quality of the food that we are buying is also assured. Now, if I give us a very good example with this, with the grains. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have this major issue of aflatoxin and fumonisin contamination. That is the mycotoxin contamination in our grains. Based on the report that was released by the Food and Agriculture Organization on the Codex Alimentarius Index. So Africa is facing this serious challenge of mycotoxin contamination. And we know that this mycotoxin contamination may a lot of cause a lot of issues, at least causes it, which are sometimes beyond the farmer's control, especially when it comes to weather issues, where there is too much rains or the rains are not there, when the rains are not there due to drought and the plants are not strong enough to fight for the, at least for the infection. So those kind of a thing are very at least difficult to address, and especially when it comes to harvesting. Also, some farmers, even they don't want to at least reduce the quantity of their yield. Even if they identify contaminated crops, they will not like to separate it, but they will just mix everything and trash and supply that to the market, and eventually it is their wives and their children that will be consuming that food. Yes, so a lot of things we have the kind of serious challenges that captured the whole value chain of the staple grains that we are consuming, especially when we say the granules, the maize, the sorghum, and even the soybean. Although the sorghum and the soybean, to some appreciable extent, is not that at least is not that very high, but especially when we talk of maize and soybean and granules, that one is very vital. But that is just a part of the contamination. And on the other part now, so also availability of the food will also contribute to the malnutrition, because now you don't have enough food. They said that there's always this food diversity score that the food securities experts used to at least access the level of availability of food in the household. So all of these things, it has direct correlation with the insecurities that the farmers are facing in the field. So that is why anytime I'm also making my comment, I'm always going back to the government. because I know that is the root cause. Just if I can give a very good example, just last week, there was a kind of a sudden attack on a military base in Maiduguri. So you see, this kind of attack definitely must have some kind of correlation with the government. Something like that can never happen, and for them to succeed and for them to have those heavy weapons, definitely there must be some government intervention. So the government, if the government can at least set aside all of their greed and at least address the issue of insecurity so that farmers can have access to the vast land that we have in Africa. We have vast land that if we are producing those lands, we are definitely going to produce good food. And one major thing is that most of the lands that are very good and productive, are found in deep remote areas. They are not those that are found within the hinterland, that they are close to the road. The very good land that are very fertile are those that are found deep inside the remote areas. And deep inside the remote areas, now farmers don't want to go there because there is high security threat. So now we are looking at we always are talking about at least receiving quality food to address the issue of availability of the food, and also to have a food that will at least meet up our own balanced diet. So looking at that portion, it is a very complicated issue, but the major thing to address this is just through the government. The government should do the necessary things to allow the farmers to have access to their farmland so that they can produce enough food that will meet the availability of the citizens. And also, apart from that, there's also should be a sensitization for the citizens on at least blending the right type of food that will give them the necessary diet that is required. And also the agency that is responsible for checking contaminated food should also at least be put on their feet to do what is required of them, to do their mandate to address those kind of issues. So just to summarize this, I would like to say that the first issue we are looking at is just the accessibility of the land. And the accessibility of the land cannot happen without at least addressing the issue of insecurity. And then so when we have that, I know we are going to have available food to eat. So when we have the available food to eat, now it comes to at least addressing the quality of the grains that we are obtaining from the food. So this agency, especially NAFDAC in Nigeria, should put on their feet to do the necessary things to address contaminated food, to do a lot of awareness to the farmers so that they can be able to address this. And the third stage is that the people that are also having access to this food, they have the food now, but they are definitely at least blending any kind of food just to suit their own preferences, but not looking at the dietary needs. So definitely there should be also a sensitization on how to address that. I don't know if these things have been followed. Well, to me, I think there is going to be some kind of impact on reducing the issue of this malnutrition in Africa. So this is just my intake. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mofit. Really good comments and appreciate that. I think it was, Shamsuddin from a prior meeting said something to the effect that to him, everything came back to government. And peace and security, of course, is huge. Without peace and security, there's so much at stake. Of course, including food production. Would anyone else like to contribute a thought? One thing you would change that could make a difference in helping to solve the problem of malnutrition in children? Would anyone else like to join me on that?
Can I say something?
Yes, please do. Go ahead, Hillary.
Thank you, sir. It's all right. Now, malnutrition in children, I think this one, for us to deal with it well, we should give it a basic approach from the time that the child, the children are beginning schooling. There are some areas we do well, like in protection, against diseases like HIV infections, because we begin to teach children this as early as grade 4, as early as grade 6 in Kenya. So before a child completes the primary school level, they already know these things. But when it comes to parenthood, we don't mention such. Somebody graduates from the university, they still don't know how to take care of children. They don't know how to treat the children well. So in my opinion, I feel like if we introduce compulsory classes in malnutrition or in children management, something like that, maybe we can structure it well as guys who are intellectually tuned, so that it can make sense. But if we introduced it to the low level so that children begin to know, how do we take care of children? I mean, how do we take care of children when one day we become parents? And this one should be open to both male and female, so that they have these ideas. They have idea of foods to take care of the children. They have ideas of the types of clothes in relation to the weather that they are coming from. They have all understanding in relation to all these things, all matters children and malnutrition. That will give them a very good start so that they can learn to do these things, which will help us to avoid guesswork, because everybody is guessing to be a parent. Nobody basically understands. How can a doctor who is in the hospital come to stay with me in my house to teach me every single step, or rather my wife, every single step of taking care of the child? It's close to impossible. Doctors are only in hospitals. So if all of us had that idea in the very house setup, it will really help. So that is one thing that I think can help. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hillary. Really good suggestions there. Several years ago, when I went to school, they had classes for children to learn how to cook, how to do things around the household, how to eat well, how to do simple repairs to different things in the house, how to work with a car, for example. It was very, very interesting. I don't believe they do it anymore, though. But they were very helpful, and I still carry a lot of those lessons with me today. All right, then. How about educational attainment? Khadija and Ubaid brought this issue up. And how can we give everyone equal access to quality education, innovative ways to educate children? And Brian brought a video from Malawi for us, and we watched that. That was interesting.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead, Khadija.
From the video, I saw something. I don't know if the I shall know that the formal language for Malawi is English, but the students seem to be learning some things in their local language there. And so it got me wondering, the larger population of Nigeria that are deprived of education are people that are very rural. And then if we really want them to have the basics of education, I think considering teaching in their own local language can be a way forward. Because what we want here is not for them to be able to speak English, it's for them to be literate, to be able to attain some level of coordination, mental coordination, to be able to access some level of literacy, to understand stuff. You do not have to understand English to understand these things. They may learn English further in their lives. So I think maybe trying to teach them in their local languages would help. That's what I wanted to share.
Very good. Who else would like to share? You could change one thing that you think would make a difference in educational attainment for children or adults. What would that be? I'm going to throw one out there, and that is providing accessible and affordable internet. I've already got that. Sorry. Put that down as in a prior meeting, but that one keeps coming back to me all the time. It's an issue over here in this country too. A lot of rural areas do not have very good access to affordable and reliable broadband internet. And they're seeing it as a priority for economic development and for increasing educational levels for not just children, but adults too. Who else would like to share? Anyone on educational attainment? Okay, let's go to food insecurity. Now, these issues, of course, are interrelated. Malnutrition in children and what you're going to see further down, poverty and food insecurity and educational attainment. Those are, of course, are all interrelated. But for the moment, we have got them separated out so that we can take a closer look at them. Food insecurity. Who would like to talk about that? Let's see. Move it. Did you have anything you wanted to share on food insecurity?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. As I always want to say something when at least I hear food insecurity, because I know that this food insecurity is the basis for the poverty we are facing, is the basis for the malnutrition we are facing, and it's also the basis because it's actually affecting the cognitive thinking of the students. So definitely it's affecting the quality of the education that we are also facing. So if I would like to give us at least a very good example in the northwest part of Nigeria. I have been to one local government that is called Anka local government, and I have seen life, a life that I've never experienced there. I have seen a life that if you will give someone at least even a half plate of a food, any type of food, he can at least if there's anything more than worship, he can worship you in that location because of how severe the life is there, how disastrous, how at least the kind of situation they found themselves because of lack accessibility of food. And this thing is also going back to the insecurity problem. Because that location, they have faced a serious insecurity threat. Their farmland were no longer accessible because the bandits have put tariffs on them, a tariff that they cannot pay, millions of naira. So looking at that, they have to abandon all their locations to come and meet at least in a very in a new place that they are not familiar with. So this issue of food insecurity is a very serious thing that definitely need to be addressed. And even apart from at least this is apart from the insecurity perspective of it, there's also then at least I cannot say natural per se because I know there are some anthropological activities, that is the human activities that are also contributing to the issue of climate issues. So now the major challenge that we are facing in Africa are two when it comes to there, apart from the insecurity that we are facing. Let's say this is natural. So there are two things. The first is that our soil is very poor. We have lost the quality of our soil, and the soil, and we are also it is on the rise. And secondly, the issue of climate change is also affecting the productivity in Africa. So now looking at the first instance, when we said that the soil has been degraded, quite sure that one is true, because the farmers are no longer at least appreciating the yield. The yield is keep on depreciating year after year. They are no longer at least no matter what you put the same input, everything that you are giving to the farm, you give it, but then eventually you will not receive what you have received last year. That's clear indication that the soil has lost its quality. And then secondly, initially, if I can give a very good example within my region in Nigeria, we normally do receive a drought spell. That is, we call it the August break. So that drought spell normally lasts for a maximum of 15 days before. But now we are receiving, not in some areas, they are receiving close to 30 days without rainfall. Some areas are receiving close to 26 days without rainfall. The minimum days that we recorded last year was around 21 days that they received without rainfall, which directly affected the yield that the farmers are supposed to at least achieve. And when they are always at a large, we are also losing this kind of a yield, is directly affecting the availability of food, which is cutting at least which is cutting our access to the food, creating a food insecure environment. That is another part. Then another one is that the issue of this issue of drought that is beyond the farmer's control. And then after harvest, then the rain didn't at least stop where it's supposed to stop, but then it exceeded beyond the normal time that it stops. So that one also affect the quality of the grains. I could remember last year a lot of grains were at least we are highly contaminated with the mycotoxins that we are talking of. A lot of grains has spoiled on the field, and this has actually affected the rate at which farmers are supplying food to the market. That this is so a lot of things, misconceptions are just going around the corner. So in summary, there is this issue of insecurity that is we might say that this issue of insecurity might be an artificial arrangement, so which at least the government can easily address this. And then the issue of the natural one, which is come from at least it is from our own activities that we have at least destroyed. We are destroying the quality of our soil, which literally means that we are also destroying our ecosystem. So definitely this has to be with a series of awareness to our farmers, the smallholder farmers, of which I know 70% of them are the so 70% of the farmers in Nigeria are smallholder farmers, and they are the one at least producing food to the country. So there should be at least the kind of a series of trainings and retrainings in their community to understand that definitely the issue of this climate problem is real. And then definitely you must have to adopt to some kind of practices like the regenerative agriculture, practices like the conservation agriculture, practices like the climate smart agriculture. All of these, at least the farmers should be aware to be able to reclaim the quality of their soil and also to sustain their productivity over time. So this is my intake regarding the food insecurity. Thank you.
Very good point, Smoother. Thank you. Well said. Yeah, that soil fertility is a problem around the world. And of course, climate change too, with some countries just completely ignoring it. And a lot of farmers their soil has gotten so poor they can't grow anything without adding a lot of fertilizer, which is not sustainable. All right, we're coming near the end of our meeting. We've got one more issue here. Let's see if we can't expand this out some more. Poverty. So what is, I'm sorry, please go ahead.
Could I please say something before we skip to the next point?
Oh, yes. Sure, please do.
Thank you so much. Now, my point is actually, I thought that for us to, I'm addressing the question that somebody raised, what we could do to the change that we could implement so that we can address this issue. It has been an issue that is always evergreen in Africa. And actually, not only in Africa, every part of the world, every country is trying to be sustainable in terms of food security. So, in my opinion, I think that if we can make the studies around food security, and that is precisely to say agricultural studies, let them be mandatory in schools. Because in Kenya, my country, for example, English language study and possibly Swahili, these are mandatory in school. So, sometimes when you grow up, you begin to ask yourself a very begin to ask yourself questions which are far-reaching with a lot of impact. Because why would we say that English should be mandatory? Something that now in Kenya is like first language. People know it almost immediately before you even know the local language as a young kid. So why would we make it mandatory and forget about agriculture, which is essentially the backbone of the country? So we should make it mandatory. And then number two thing that we can do to avoid food security is that we must be intentional about producing more for our countries. I love what President Magufuli did in Tanzania, the late President Magufuli of Tanzania. When he got into power, Tanzania people, they have this setup called Ujamaa, where people just stay in a group and they depend fully on the government. When he got into power, the Tanzanians were importing food from Egypt, which is only producing 27%. Which is only arable, 27% of its total landmass. But Tanzania is arable up to 97%, can produce food. So when President Magufuli got to power, what he did that is causing me to pull this story is that he refused. He said that during his entire administration, they were not going to import from any country so that Tanzania can eat. And then he asked everybody to be intentional about farming. Everybody went back to the villages. Everybody went back to the shambas to prepare, to produce food. And I want to tell you that according to whatever was said after his term, after he passed, peace be upon him, the Tanzanian people have never imported food. And I don't know whether right now they're importing, but up to the time that President Magufuli was still alive, they were not importing food because they realized that they could produce much more than they needed in Tanzania.
Very good. Yeah, that's an interesting example. The idea that in Tanzania there was enough arable land, but there needed to be some sort of intention or goal to produce more food for the country, and they were successful. Thank you, Hillary. All right, then, let's wrap it up here with poverty. Let's talk about poverty. Got a few ideas on the table here. Let's put out some more. What are some things that you would do if you could change something? What would that be to change the levels of poverty in Africa? Who would like to share? Aruna, I see you've joined us. Would you like to share something on poverty and your thoughts about how to change or make a difference?
Yes, sure. Good evening from my end, and good evening to all the members of the team. Am I audible? Or is it
Yes, you are audible. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So even though I joined very lately due to some technical glitches, And so initially I wanted to speak on the food insecurity, but
Sure.
still on poverty in Africa, I think it's another important aspect that we need to discuss on. And this is also have some connection with food security or insecurity anyway. If we take the percentage, or let me say the statistic of smallholder farmers in Africa, which was said to be over 70% of the farmers in Africa are smallholder farmers, or in Nigeria rather. So, and looking at this population, so most of these farmers, some of them they don't have basic amenities. I mean, access to a quality roads, a reliable source of water, a standard and by electricity, a quality education, among others. So, and I think any society that lacks this major and important aspect of life, that's water, education, access to quality roads, among others. So any society that lacks this, so I know this is just a sure there must be poverty in the society, society, because there is no way. For example, you want to be a farmer and you farm, maybe you farm your produce, but there is no good roads to transport your produce from your farm location to the market. And for example, in another instance, maybe you have children and maybe you were not opportune to study, you are not opportune to be educated, but it's not something that you would like to inherit to your offsprings, I mean to your generations. But because there is no access to quality schools within your proximity, so you see that still some of those small or poor farmers or poor families, the parents are poor and they're still inheriting that trait to their younger generation, because there is no access to roads, there is no access to quality schools, there is no access to water, even water, because basic healthcare system too is not even available. So I think finding ways to address these major issues, I think it will go a long way in solving poverty in Nigeria, in Africa, and even in the world. And we cannot do this without, I think my last point for our last meeting, without quality leadership. Because we know there are a lot of policies, there are a lot of, let me say, interventions, I mean on paper. But the implementation is and the execution of all those policies, all those interventions is the issue. You see that our government will now sit, they will spend a lot of money, even in drafting the interventions, in drafting the policies, but it will not be executed effectively. And so as because of that, the rural communities will continue to be in that poverty situation. So until we find a way to address this and to see that any policy or any intervention is well executed, is effectively implemented, so our people will continue to be in poverty, which we don't like, we don't want to hear. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Haruna. I'm going to put that under poverty. I had started it up in food insecurity, though, could probably be in both. All right, then, we've come to the end of our time for today's meeting. So what you're seeing here is that we started out with an agenda back in March, and we keep building this out, and eventually this will become some kind of a document. And you can see all the different people that have contributed ideas to it so far. It's quite impressive. Eventually, I think where you're going to go is somewhere along the line, you're going to figure out what is one thing we can try to make a difference and actually do something about. And that's when we'll get into action. But we still have a lot more to discuss here. One of the questions that we will discuss at an upcoming meeting is why isn't this being done? Or how can we change a condition to make something happen? All right, then. Our next meeting is going to be 2 weeks from now on Thursday, May the 29th. I will put this information into the Youth Leadership for Africa group page. Now, let me show you that before we close out so you know where to get it. Up here, if you go up to I Am For You World, I am #4u.world, and you go up under leadership groups, you'll find Youth Leadership for Africa. Click on it. And if you go to the resource library, you will see the meeting minutes or meeting summary, excuse me, and the video recording for the meetings that we've held so far. And you'll be able to see the upcoming events. And here we have the agenda for today's meeting. And you'll be able to, if you'd like to post something in the group itself, you can do that too. And it's very easy to join, and it's very easy to invite people. So please check it out. Use it as your platform to communicate with each other. All right, I'm going to stop the share there. And I am going to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for the YLA Community Builders meeting. Mufit, did you want to say anything before we close out?
Yes, Terry. Thank you so much. Actually, I would also like to commend our participants for today. We know that definitely they have a quite busy schedule, but that's how they squeeze, and especially for our brothers that joined from Kenya. You know, the hour was too late, but actually they squeeze also to join. So we would like to appreciate and commend your efforts. And also, at least like to call on each and everyone to, as we keep on mentioning, that we are at least at the first space, and we are trying to build the community with vibrant youth, not even youth, but with just people that have the mindset of at least seeing that some positive change has been implemented in their community, especially through their own effort. So that's what we are going to do, certain things from the grassroots. So if you know any people that at least they are that have this kind of mindset, please do not hesitate to bring them on board. And we should also keep on checking on the platform that is the IAM4U.world, and also under the leadership group community. You check on the YLA. There are a lot of things that have been posting there. Any information that you needed, you should always go back to there. You definitely get the information. Even if you want to connect with other members, you can easily go there, and you can at least see we have a lot of potential minds that are there, like minds, so you can easily connect with people there and share your ideas. So thank you so much once again for joining, for sparing your valuable time and at least join our call. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right, then. Thank you, Mufit. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a peaceful evening, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next meeting in 2 weeks. Bye for now.
Thank you, Sir Terry, for
Thank
your
you.
effort.
Bye.